Hello, my name's Katie, and I'm Katie. So I'm going to talk to you about the French. Sits on the right-hand side, slightly away, because we're slightly special. We're slightly special for a couple of reasons. That bit of weird buzzing sound with your lips. We vibrate our lips to create the sound. That bit of weird buzzing sound like that. So goes from an ugly sound to. Now, the horn is quite special for a couple of reasons. In that, firstly, it's played with the left hand, so the right hand, left hand. That is because a while back, before the valves were invented a couple of hundred years ago, we used to change the note with our hand. So like this. So like this. That doesn't really give you an even tone, so they added some valves so we can get all the notes without having that fuzzy sound. Another difference is that it's conical, so it starts smaller here and winds round and eventually gradually gets smaller until you get to the bell. It's great fun to play. One of the things I love most about the French is the variety you get. This is the natural horn. This is the natural horn. This is the natural horn. Used to be played with the right hand. The natural horn works on the harmonic series, which means it can only get a few notes at a time, such as this. Like that. As you get higher, the notes get closer together. Like that. So generally, most of the tunes you'll hear will be in that upper octave, where you can get more of the tuneful notes, really. Now, it wasn't the most useful of instruments in that you can only get a couple of notes like that, and to get the notes in between, you have to cover your hand. Like that. Another reason it's not so useful is that for every key that you have to be in, you have to have a different crook. So that is one crook, and that is one crook. It all starts going in there and coming out there, but in between it's all rather complicated. 12 feet long. You can play with your hands in between, from the very bottom to the very top. The bell gets in the way and you whack your leg and bruise your shin, that kind of thing. People have created an excellent solution to this by having detachable bells. It comes off, so you pack it away, goes neatly like that, and it's a nice little box. Gustav Mahler was one of the best horns in his time. He had some beautiful loud tunes, but also some beautiful quiet ones, and this is one of the more melodic, pretty ones. So in the same symphony, Mahler also wrote some rather loud bits of the horn, and this is a tutti, so there's quite a lot of us playing it, so imagine this times about 1 million. To produce a clear start to the note, we quite often tongue them. So we use our tongue behind our teeth, or sometimes through our teeth, depending on how long your tongue is. And you just kind of give it a bit of a kickstart. So you can do quite sharp tonguing, like that, which isn't very attractive, so we generally tone it down a bit. Some people don't use the tongue at all and produce a note just by vibrating their lips. This gives you a softer articulation. Unlike other brass instruments, we have our hand up the bell. So that's kind of a hangover from when it was a natural horn. This is the natural horn, up the bell. So that's how we used to change the notes. Nowadays, it just kind of keeps that sound, which they're all familiar with, and we're all familiar with, and we're all familiar with, and we're all familiar with now. It's a good way to hold it, instead of like that. That looks a bit silly. Also, we can change the tuning. Mozart. He had a very good friend called Philipp Joseph Geb, and he wrote 4 concertos for him, one of which was made very famous by Flanders and the Swan, which goes a bit like this. Lasts a bit longer than that. The other one is Richard Strauss, who's a bit later on. Now, his father was a horn. He probably grew up with the sound of horn, so he knew what sounded good and knew what sounded bad. A good example is Held, which starts on a low B, which within the space of about 10 bars goes up to high B. So, yeah, from very low to B, very high B. But he knew how to B.
If you've enjoyed learning about the tuner, why not try our Instruments in the Orchestra iPad app, The Instruments in the Orchestra, featuring Esa-Pekka Salen and the Philharmonia Orchestra. Fully interactive video interactive playback lets you view the interactive orchestra from all angles. And the revolutionary beat map shows you who is beating the instruments. Follow along with synchronized syncs. Hear the inside scoop in the instruments. And get a 360-degree view of all audio commentaries. Available for download in the App Store on iTunes.